Just making the simple plays. We did a really good job early on of, not turning the ball over. Making sure that we give the ball inside and let Hunter operate. He did a really good job of being patient. When he got doubled, he made the right play to guys on the perimeter. And so when we play like that, we're a tough team to guard.
Good afternoon, everybody. That was Michigan coach Juwan Howard after last night's NIT victory at the Chrysler Center. We'll talk a little bit about Michigan basketball coming up. Great to be here with you on this Wednesday, March the 15th. We are joined by former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli, who is on the screen. Scar, good to see you. What's going on this Wednesday?
Yeah, big win, man. Nice. Like you said, Hunter was sound. Hunter was good. They didn't have the size really to defend him. They did a good, they did a decent job. But Doug was strong, and Joey Baker finally was shooting the ball the way we were hoping all year. But that's a good Toledo team we beat. But we'll get into them in a minute.
You are right. We will get into that in a minute. We will also talk. I think that every Wednesday that Scar comes on, we talk about Deion Sanders, and this time no different. Prime is in the rundown. We'll also talk about linebackers and linebacker coach Chris Partridge. We've got some film on a Wolverine who's getting a shout out from a teammate, Josaiah Stewart. And it's a big weekend. Last weekend was a big weekend for Michigan as they brought in a number of high school kids to visit, recruits. And this weekend will be a big weekend headlined by Jadyn Davis. You may have heard of him, the quarterback out of Providence Day in Charlotte, North Carolina. We'll ask Scar what kind of recruiting pitch that the Maize and Blue will be throwing Davis's way. And as we have already previewed a little bit with some of Jim's thoughts on the NIT last night, we'll get to that. But we're going to start with an overall college football topic, and that is that last year, after a number of seasons, Scar, college football attendance is up. College football attendance rose in 2022 with the largest year-over-year increase since 1982. You got to go back to 82, and more fans attended games last year than any year since 2018. And when you see something like that, what does it mean to you?
I think it's great. I know, I was able to play in front of big crowds and big games, and that whole environment is great for the student body, the alumni, and it's a great thing for the players. They were worried, Danny, years ago. We go back to the mid-'70s when there were 2 college football games on. That was it. You had a 1:00 game and you had a 4:00 game, and that was all you had. And they were worried about attendance if they kept expanding games, putting more games in. But it's proven wrong that you can have. We got college football from noon to 3 a.m. We get the West Coast game 2 a.m, and people are still watching. So it's great. I think it's great for the whole deal there that there's funding then coming in, more ticket sales for the athletic department. But I was just reading, you read the same article. They were saying it's easy to buy tickets. You don't got to deal with Scout. You just get it, click it on your phone, StubHub, boom, you got tickets. Easy to get tickets. That was one of the reasons they talked about. And they talked about selling booze as one of the reasons people go to these games, or maybe there's a little more affluent type of fan that goes to college games. That was one of the talking points in the article. But I think it's great. And, it's good to see that.
Yeah, I think for years, all of sports were worried about ticket sales because of high def and just how good the TVs and people's home theaters, how far it had come. Like, you see some people, my own, for instance, I sit back and it's not like, I've got this high def curved screen TV, sit back. I mean, it looks like sitting in the press box and I'm, just transported back, except I've got my fridge 5 feet away and I got the bathroom 10 feet away. That was a big worry I think, for a lot of sports venues. But one thing that Michigan has had, and if you're winning, that's going to really help for Michigan. But Don Canham realized it in '69, and that Michigan was more in the product on the field. You got to have that. But he understood about the whole experience of tailgating and the bands and just things that go on during the game with the crowd and then afterwards and the whole shebang all day long, and halftime shows. He was ahead of the curve on that. And in a Michigan experience, Michigan's got it like, Michigan's right up there with almost everything you can think about in college football, not being biased or anything. Everybody knows that. But the game day experience, like, they're unmatched. I mean, they're there. I mean, you could talk about, you go down to Ole Miss or you want to go to the Swamp, any of that. But, Michigan from start to finish, there's nothing like it, being able to go down. And now the thing is, you could tell somebody, you go down and then you got to jam yourself into a little seat, that's just sitting right there on this little plank. And then you got to sit there for 2 hours. And then if you're too far down, you got to walk up those steps, which and then you got to wait in line for the bathroom. But all those things have, when you get home, even if you're leaving at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're getting home at 8 o'clock at night. It seems like it's always, I don't say it seems like it. It's always worth it.
Yeah, it's an awesome experience, man. I like to sit home at times and I got my DVR going and copying games and watching 2-3 games at the same time. But you can't duplicate the camaraderie of being with your classmates and sitting in the stands and cheering together. And, that's just a great event, man. And people make a whole day out of it. We all know about that and the tailgating. And I didn't realize how great of an event the Michigan, the full game was until I got done playing. And then I went to some games and then I realized how nice the band and I went to games when I was getting recruited, but I guess I was going up to the press box. That's where they had the recruits at halftime. But I just didn't realize how, you take in that whole event and you're absolutely right, Denny. It's an awesome, full day experience. And Michigan has a lot to sell there that's different than other people.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you go there and you're just thinking, I'm gonna fight the traffic, I want to watch this game, and then I want to rush to get home. That's, if somebody was telling you that, you'd say you probably don't want to go to a college football game, specifically a Michigan game. You want to make sure you're getting there a couple hours before so you can tailgate. Even if you don't drink, there's a lot of things to do. And then afterwards, being able to, if you you can find a lot of different places, that the people that have TVs there, and then you wait, to the night, and then you just get in your car and there's no traffic. You're boom, you're home. Now there's a lot of variations on that that I've experienced over the years, but yeah, like you want to be able to, have the whole day where you can put a couple hours on each side. Not everybody's able to do that. You always hear about, look, you got your families and they're talking about the babysitters, and not everybody can just leave, set off at 7 o'clock in the morning and get back at 8 o'clock at night. I get that, but once some people, they work their entire calendar and their year around it, Michigan football home games. There's only 6 or 7.
People get married on a Saturday in football season. Are you kidding me?
That's
But don't underestimate, Denny. As much as these ticket sales are up around, that's what the article said, and Michigan, we know that experience is great, but you gotta still win, man. I remember Brady's last year or so when going to a game there when there was a whole lot of empty seats, man. Something I'd never seen. So we still gotta win, to fill that place up. There's a lot of tickets there in Ann Arbor to fill, a lot of seats to fill.
There is something that you see, and it's not just been last year, a couple of years, it's been 10, maybe even 20 years, is that there's a lot of things going on a Saturday, and sometimes the tailgate's so good that you look over there at the student section and it's bare. And it's like, what's going on there? Well, they're partying and having such a good time. They're like, we'll just go to the game, whatever. And then, if the game's a blowout, they're like, let's go, it's party time, and they're taking off. And everybody's like, what are you guys doing? You're the future. Well, they got a lot of things now to do. It's not just a game. So that's one of the issues. And I know this, if Michigan, it would have been nice if they would have started beating Ohio State 5-10 years ago, whatever. But, it's just right now, if Michigan had lost a game or two last year, there'd be a lot more emphasis on complaining about the home games from an entertainment standpoint, especially the non-conference. You'd look back to last year, and then you'd look back to this year, and you say, garbage. But since they're winning, and, they plowed through it, and, this is like the best time. It's like right there with any time in Michigan football. It's like this is the great days, for the Maize and Blue. There's not even nobody. I like to complain about the non-conference schedule. I'm not going to complain too much about the non-conference schedule this year. In fact, the way it worked out last year, run it back. Let's see it. So, they've even been able to jump over that gets complained about a lot. And those are for season ticket, people that just watch the games at home. A lot of people don't care. They just kill them, Britta. But people that go to the games, they like interesting, exciting games. But even those folks are like, hey, having a great time. We had a great time last year. They'll have a great time this year when Michigan, is winning all their games.
Yeah, obviously you'd like to, as a coach, you like to have a couple games where you can play your whole team, and then the fans like to have a good, a real good, at least one. And I think this is the end of the straight land chops. From the rest of the way out, we're going to have one tough one. It looks like the way that they're scheduling for here on out. So this is the last year of the three easy ones.
That's right. Next year, it's Michigan, Texas. And that game, so as much as we sit around talking about, like you say, lamb chops or what anybody wants to say, the Michigan, Texas game will draw more interest than any college football game ever, and if it's that sounds like I'm going overboard, like considering who the quarterbacks could be in that game and the two teams and everything else, it's going to be up there. It will be up there. How about Andres? He's never been to the big house, but he's planning on it this year. He's saying his fiance and friends, they're pretty not all that big agnostic to football. They don't, will they still have an enjoyable experience? I'll let Scar weigh in on that first. Do you think Andres, who is a big Michigan fan, but his fiance and friends, football's football, what do you think they'll think?
Hey, I think it's a unique event. I think it's a special event. And just to see so many people there and to see them run out of the tunnel. And I think it's something to see. I think it's something you got to do once, man. Put it on your bucket list at least one time, Andres.
Yeah, I think for people that don't even like football, and especially if it's the first time, I can remember going to Michigan, my first Michigan game, and there's so many different things that are going on. You got, the people shaking their keys and the cheerleaders and the whole other deal that they have during every break. They're doing something and they got the band going and everybody seems like they know all these things. You're like, wow, what is this? I mean, there's so much stuff going on besides the game that people that don't even like football at all will enjoy the game. And then, if you like, tailgating, tailgating's fun. I don't know.
I would say, Denny, I tell you, get in the stadium a good 45 minutes before the game, see the whole thing, see the warm up, see all that, and be there at halftime. Watch the band, see the whole thing. Get your money's worth. Do it one time. Do it right.
Yeah, do it right. Get yourself a set of bocce balls and go to the golf course and play bocce on the golf course. I mean, that's my suggestion for you. Super easy, pretty cheap, and, it's a guaranteed hit. And if you do, Andres, get the bocce set and go to the golf course, I'll show up because that's the way I like to roll at Michigan games as well. I could sit here all day and talk about the Michigan game experience, Scar, so I was glad you brought it up. Now, I wasn't surprised when you sent me a text. You're always wanting to talk about Coach Prime time. And what interests you in prime time this week?
Well, I was just reading something that the networks were going to do a special thing for his spring game, for Colorado spring game, and they're talking about getting his first game as the marquee game. So I guess what I'm saying and what I'm seeing is those can be advantages recruiting. if the media wants to help Colorado and help Prime by making, his spring game a bigger event than Oregon's or Oregon State or whoever they got to compete in that league, that's an advantage for Colorado. And the advantage is going to come from the media. So I guess that was something because every coach is going to be looking you're always looking for advantages and disadvantages that you're faced with as a coach. I've been that guy. And it was just something that I was seeing that's like, okay, wait a minute now. The media is going to help this guy. He's going to help Colorado. And, but the media doesn't care. They feel he's a draw and he's going to sell tickets and his personality. And it is what it is. I guess that's the old Saban line, right? It is what it is. But life ain't always fair, but it looks like they're going to give his team a little more coverage. And that can help recruiting.
I always like how you coaches, blame the media. Scar, you're a part of it. Like these TV execs, they're sitting around. They've got their artificial intelligence scanning the web and watching YouTube shows. And they find this college football show that's on every day. And they say, former Wolverine, every week you talk about Prime. You're the one that brings them up. We put the picture up there. And they're thinking, man, Primetime even gets talked about in Ann Arbor, Michigan on an all-Michigan show every week. They get this former coach. He's talking about Primetime. Primetime saying this about the players. Primetime saying that about the quarterbacks. Saying this about the defensive linemen. Now, he's commenting on why we would put Primetime headed to Colorado, one of the most dynamic players ever, who is heading to Boulder and is like the Pied Piper with recruits. And you got Scar and other coaches like, I don't know why the media is helping him out. Really? You don't know why?
I'm talking about it because I saw the article that said they're going to do these special things for him. If I'm the coach at UCLA or I'm at Utah and I'm at some of these other schools, and all that stuff is going to help him attract kids, man. Oh wow, Prime! They're going to, those games are on. They're the big game. They're they're doing our spring game, and they're all this ink, all this coverage. Players, that stuff matters, man. All that love matters to a lot of recruits. So that's why I'm talking about it. And I just know that, coaches are going to be, hey, what about me, man? Come look at Utah's game. Come look at Oregon State's spring game. We got a good team too. So that was the point of me bringing it up.
Yeah, Coach Prime will bring in a couple of musicians, a couple of rappers. He'll be shooting off fireworks. It'll be a real event. Meanwhile, I like Michigan. I think Jim Harbaugh is doing a good job. 2 years ago, Jim Harbaugh with an opportunity to put the spring game on TV. It was like, we're not televising our spring game. We're not letting anybody come to the spring game. Oh, okay. That was after the pandemic. What did you think of that strategy? Do you think the media was a little harsh on him for saying, hey, Harbaugh, how about letting your fans who had to endure a 2-win season and had to see the Maze of Blue a while? How about just letting them see the old Gridiron Warriors out there going through the warm-ups? Nope, didn't want to do it. Didn't want to, show the new 3-4 defense or anything. So, hey,
I get it, Danny, and that's the downside of that. I don't want no one to see what I'm doing. Yeah, it's gonna hurt the attraction. The spring game helps. All that stuff helps. Everything helps recruiting. Everything affects recruiting, and
yeah, I remember the year that Jim. I was against him. I thought he should have opened up the doors. They could have found a way to, spread people out in the stadium because, if he was really worried about, I think he was, or whatever, the pandemic. And obviously they could have televised it. Hell, he could have put a little camera up in the corner and turned it on and people would have tuned in, but he didn't want to do any of those things. So there was nothing. And yet you mentioned Nick Saban. I can remember that year. Saban was mic'd up for his spring game and they were down there and he's yelling, hey, Kool-Aid, get your fat ass over here. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Look at Saban running around. Let's go over to Michigan's game.
No, hey Danny, you make a great you got a head coach of a college team. X and O's is a small part of having success. Understanding the game of you got to understand all that other stuff when it comes to selling your program, man. How to utilize the media and take everything to your advantage. That's a big part of of winning, of building a program.
Yeah, and look, I can't blame Harbaugh too much, or you, Scar. You guys both learned from Bo, who I know myself. He had a, you don't want to say adversarial relationship with the media, but he liked to always feel like that it was us versus them. And I remember his famous line. Because the kickoffs are at 12 o'clock, and it was like 1 o'clock back there. Where there was just like this argument, and you remember Bo's like a famous line. He's like, "We're going to kick it off at 1. And if they want to be there, fine," or whatever. It's like something like that. I'm saying a famous line. We'll be kicking it off at 1. If they want to televise it, let them, something like that.
I can see him saying that. Yeah, he didn't like night games. He didn't like that. He thought it hurt, the players coming back late, and then, the alumni, they don't want to drive home at 2 a.m. So I remember him talking about that.
Got that right. All right. One of Jim Harbaugh's new assistants, he's an old assistant as well, Chris Partridge, who comes back. He's the linebackers coach now. Scar, you wanted to say a few things about Michigan linebacker coach Chris Partridge. What do you think?
I just reading some of the things that some of the players are saying about him, and he and some people were worried that Partridge worked under the Don Brown scheme. He did this, that. He did a different scheme at Ole. Hey, man, he's a coach. He was a head coach in high school, and he can learn the system. He can learn the Mike McDonald, Jesse Minter system. So he's, just reading the comments from the players. They're excited. They like working for him. He's a real good coach. They can see he understands football, and there's a ton of competition in that room. A lot of experience back. So, it's a good looking room. And I'm actually going to be taking a peek at practice this weekend. I'm going to take a ride up, and but I'm going to really focus in on him and take a look at that group, because there's a lot of depth there, and I'm going to just see how he's coaching them up.
Well, let's see. Some people are weighing in on you going to practice. Antoine says you got to drop the 411.
I got it, dog. I'm gonna give you what I can. But I'm a trusted Wolverine that gets the privilege of going. So I'll try to give you what I can, man. But I'll leave it at that.
Andres, he gets the sense that Scar won't be divulging anything.
You're probably going to get a lot of great looking coaches coaching hard, players looking good. I'll try to give you what I can, but I'm fired up to go, and I'm gonna watch that linebacker group. There's a lot of depth there, man. You know what, Danny? I just think about when I look at this group of linebackers, and I look at our offensive line. People talk about playing at Michigan. I've asked, people ask you that all the time. I've always said the easy part is getting a scholarship to Michigan. The hard part is getting on the field. I mean, look at that linebacker room. Look at our offensive line. There's 10 guys that he's calling starters. So, and there's serious battling going on. And we talked about this. There's going to be some guys at the end of spring that are probably going to be looking at the portal because they're seeing where they're stacking up now. We've been in this for about 3 weeks now. Spring ball, the depth chart is starting to formalize. There's guys that are feeling real good about themselves, and there's other guys that got hurt feelings that are, third, fourth string on the depth chart. So those are some names, you might see in a couple weeks at the end of the semester in the portal.
Yeah, I like all these names and these linebackers, a lot of experience. You got some new guys that you don't necessarily know about, and Houseman, except for what you saw from him over at Nebraska. Jason, asking for you to look for something during your trip to the Glick Fieldhouse. He says, if you could comment on the biggest improvements you'll see in regards of a specific position that you didn't expect. So that's what Jason wants you to take a look at when you're at.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a good look at the D line because I talked about it the interior D line. I think our edge is going to be sound. I'll take a peek at that, but the interior D line, I want to see what kind of depth we have there. because we know Graham can play, and we know Jenkins can play. There's no question there. It's who's 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the position group. I think our secondary is sound, a lot of depth. Our offensive line has got a ton of guys that can play. Our tight end room is good. I'm going to be taking a good look at that interior D line and seeing what kind of depth we have there. And see how, I'm going to look at the quarterback, see how good they look.
You're good. I can't wait for all of it. Jason points out this is prime time, getting it going of a player that had success in college and the pros, and now is there on the sideline. And Jason reminding everybody that when Harbaugh came in, he had the signing day spectacular in the first year he put on. Somebody was telling me yesterday about they were upset, that Michigan, it was the whole, hamburger thing, compared to Texas spending $250,000 on Arch Manning's recruiting visit. And this is kind of it. It's like, I don't know how much the signing day spectacular, it was like the Oscars though. I mean, it was up there again. Tom Brady had the stage. I don't think it was 250,000, but it was an awesome. I mean, I loved it. I wanted him to do it every year. That was a great move by Harbaugh. All Michigan fans wanted it, but I bet there were people out, at UCLA saying, oh, look at the media's all over Jim Harbaugh, who's got his Lamborghini, saying, who's got it better than us? This is a joke. Look at the media kowtowing to an NFL guy who hasn't, done anything here at Michigan yet. What about that, Scar?
Hey, Denny, you make a great point, but I applaud anybody who's in any kind of leadership position that takes over something dysfunctional and says, you know what, I'm going to do something out of the box. I'm going to do something to bring some excitement to my business, my team, whatever it is. So I always applaud those guys. And I loved when Jim just got the job, he had a lot of ideas that were outside of the box. I don't knock a guy ever for that, but I just felt the Deion thing was they were coming to him. They want his game on. They want his spring game. He just, you know what I mean? Jim was doing those things, on his own. And I admire anybody that is building something to do that. Okay. Take a chance, do something outside the box to bring some excitement to your program.
Braden McGregor was talking about somebody bringing some excitement, and he was talking about one of the Magnificent Seven. He was talking up transfer Josaiah Stewart. He called him, this is a compliment. I don't want people to think this is not. He's saying he's a freak in a good way, Scar, that he's a freak in a good way. And I've got 4 minutes of video of Stewart when he was at Coastal Carolina, just getting into the backfield and making plays. He wears the number 0 for the Chanticleers. Let's put him up on the screen. And so if you're looking here, I know that guy doesn't look like he's wearing number 0. That guy kind of looks like he's wearing a 4. So I don't know where 0 is going to come from.
I think he's coming off the edge here. Let's take a look. Go ahead, run.
Plays as an edge, but these are all of the highlights from Stewart at Coastal Carolina last year.
Yeah, he's at the top. Yeah, you just see the speed, man. You see him just beat that tackle. He's not the tallest kid, but he's got the I've watched him, man. He's coming off the edge to our left here. He just beats that tackle, and that's an athletic kid. But he's got the physical. He's got the bull rush too. He's got the speed. I've watched him. He's got the. So where's he at here? He's coming.
The screen there.
I think he might have been on our. Was he on our left there?
He was at the top of the screen, right?
Top of the screen again.
Listed as for Michigan at 6'2", 230.
Yeah, I mean the kid has the bull rush and he has the speed. You got to have both. So you can't just make a living with the speed rush. If you got to put that offensive tackle in conflict. So here he is coming from the bottom, the left of the screen, having a field day over here on this team.
Yeah, he beat that tackle. His best play's coming up. He makes this one-handed play in the next play or two that I really liked.
No, that room is going to be, here he is on the left. Just 77 is just having nightmares trying to block Stewart. So,
It shows some good athleticism to zero in on the quarterback, especially this Kansas quarterback. They're so good at eluding these guys when they have a beat on them.
Now here he is at the top right. Again, this is a different team beating a different guy with speed. And yeah, it's a great looking deal we got here, man. We got a great room, Denny. We got what I like about it, and I've said this, is we've got different type of players there that'll give those offensive tackles different types of problems. So that's what you got 4 guys that rotate in. So them tackles will have to block Stewart and what he brings to the table, and then the next series are going to have to block McGregor or Harrell, what he brings to the table. So those are different, different talents. So it forces that offensive tackle and them offensive linemen to have the ability to block different types of guys. So, we'll find a weakness. We'll find which guy can really do the most damage to him. So that's what I like about that edge room is there's, different type of players to really find the weakness. Now this kid is, and he'll play the run too, though. I watched, you got him, beating people with, obviously that's so important to beat an offensive, to have that speed rush and the ability to run the rush the quarterback. But he plays the run too. You're not going to play if you just can rush the quarterback. You got to be a all around. And I've seen film of him doing that. So
this is the one I like. He's getting held up. Yeah, that's the one. So he's getting held up, but he waits. He shows some patience here, and then he's kind of bird dogging the QB here. Like he could have kept going to the outside, but he waited, and then he got on him. I like that.
Yeah. So you've got McGregor and Harrell, and then Stewart and Moore. So those are 4 really good athletic football players, man.
How about the spin move here, Scar? How about the spin move out of the bull rush?
Yeah, you got it, Denny. It's just like a baseball player, you just obviously you want to have a good fastball, but it's good to have a little curveball and possibly a slider, changeup, because it's the same stuff. You want to put that offensive lineman in in conflict. So it's all the same kind of deal, man. It's just like a basketball player that can go to the hole or shoot the jumper. You can go left, you can go right. It's the same thing. Put the player in conflict.
Yeah, well, there's a little.
Well, here you go. You got a different deal here now. This is why we got to have tall corners. We talked about moving Marion over there to corner.
Yeah, well, Garrett Wilson's a great wide receiver. We knew that. That was really good coverage. That was a great throw and a great catch. I mean, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot. I mean, you're talking about maybe having a taller guy over there and everything else, but that was a great. It was a great throw by the old Buckeye.
Yeah, guy makes a point about sometimes being a little shorter, it has its advantages playing football. It has advantages with leverage. You're naturally lower, and it can give problems sometimes on pass rush also. So yes, long arms is an advantage. It's an advantage if you know how to use it. Off the edge, there are 4 really good players there. Who do I see starting? McGregor and Harrell, we know they can play. And now Stewart is in the mix. So I'm going to take a good look at that. And then Moore was the highly recruited kid, but I feel real good about all 4 of those guys. Any 2 of them starting, but we'll see. And there'll be constant competition at that position. So that, you might see 2 guys one week and 2 different guys the next week because there's so much talent there. And they're all good, and they'll be evaluated on how well they play each week. So you might not see, the same 2 guys every week at a lot of those positions. Inside linebacker also.
If I had to predict who is going to be the next Kwity Paye, Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo, Mike Morris, who I would pick, Scar? You said his name already. Jalen Harrell. That's the guy that I would pick. I think he's already shown a lot, and I think he just takes the next step to, being a star and with a up arrow next to him. I like everything. Every time I watch Michigan, I go back and watch the game. I'm always like, 32. Look at 32. I like it. I like 32.
Danny, we've done a great job recruiting at that position. We've done a great job coaching and developing it. So when you see that you have depth, you have good players, that's a sign of the leader. Okay, so when and we don't. I mean, obviously we went in the portal to get Stewart, but we've done a good job developing and that's what the name of the game, man. You got to build your roster and have the right players and recruit the right guys and develop them so that now 3-4 years later, because I've been watching McGregor for 3 years, man. He's from my neck of the woods. So I remember watching him early on, shaking my head a little bit, but man, he's really improved. So he's a kid that, and all them guys you just got to be patient but they've improved.
I like it. Speaking of recruiting, if you want to know the latest in recruiting, how about this? What's going on? You can join the Maize and Blue review today by going to michigan.rivals.com. And how about this deal? You buy a month and you get 4 months free. Full access today. Go to michigan.rivals.com and just remember the promo code UMSpring23. That's UMSpring23. I was just going to look down. I was out a little bit earlier and I was like, it says 40 degrees, but the sun's shining and that's when you're a Michigander, when you're out there and it's 40 degrees and it's sunny and you're like, things feel pretty good. Scar, I want to get to the next thing that we have here. While we have you mention recruiting, and it's a big weekend. As Jadyn Davis, the quarterback from Providence Day in Charlotte, North Carolina, is coming in for a visit. Michigan is this is the guy that they're going after. This is who they want. They're not going after anybody else. This is all of their eggs are in the JD basket, although, like just for 24 in terms of recruiting, it does feel like that. This is the apple of their eye and all of that. What's Michigan planning with Davis as he comes in? And, that the Wolverines, they really want a commitment. They want him to play for Michigan. What do you think they've got planned? What's the pitch to Jadyn Davis?
Well, you gotta look at the success that, and Jim hasn't had, he had, the kid at Stanford, the quarterback with luck, he had luck and, to say, okay, he's got Michigan guys that are playing in the pros. I don't, we really can't really sell that so much. Not yet. JJ will be a pro quarterback. McNamara will probably be in a camp. But listen, he's selling a great team, a great education, and hopefully we're able to compete, with in the NIL ballpark. He's going to get great coaching. Jim played the position. He's coached. He understands the quarterback position. So you're selling Michigan, the great education. You're selling, playing on a championship team. You're playing in front of 100 some thousand people every week. The great, the alumni base to help you when you're done. You're selling all those things, and the development as a quarterback that Jim should be able to, sell that. And look look what I've done with JJ. Look what we've done with McNamara. And just again, but all that stuff is so minimal now. If we're not at the table with NIL, if that's where a lot of these kids' emphasis is. So he's going to look at practice. So the kid's coming, he'll be at practice. Maybe I'll see him, and he'll see. He'll take a look at the new quarterback coach. So that relationship is new now. So he was working. He was probably spent a lot of time with Weiss. And now, what's the new guy's name? Kirk
Campbell.
Yeah, so Campbell. So now that relationship is, has to blossom. So the kids waited. Can we blame them? Listen, Jim, there's that pro stuff with Jim. So you can't always blame the kid, for saying, why hasn't he committed to Michigan? Because of the things that Jim, and some of the competition, some of the enemy might be negative recruiting against Michigan, that Harbaugh is gone again. He's going to be going here. I mean, it is what it is. They're probably doing it. But as far as what's going on in his head, he's got to be looking at, listen, JJ's got one more year. I can be sitting there ready to go. Because there's not, is there a ton of competition there right now? That's the stuff I'd be looking at. Who's the next guy? Davis, Warren, Davis, Warren, is that, what do I got to beat out? Those are the things I looked at when I was getting recruited. Who's there? Who's in that class ahead of me? And who else are they recruiting in my class? So that, that's what I'm looking at when I'm getting recruited.
Yeah, I wouldn't. He seems like a sharp kid. I wouldn't be shying away from any of the negative stuff. I think you've hit on the important parts. You come in like you're Jim Harbaugh. They've got a good relationship, and you say, "Look, this is what we can do." And the most important thing, you can look down there and say, "Yeah, we've got JJ McCarthy. Look at what we're doing right now. Getting to the college football playoff. You can be the next in line in there and coming in, and competing. So it's a fabulous situation. And then Harbaugh can say whatever he wants about next year in the NFL." Harbaugh's point, it's not about the enemy or anything else. Harbaugh said it himself. He likes himself and the other coaches looking at the NFL. So I think the relationship, not only with Kirk Campbell, but what he thinks of Sharon Moore, because there's a chance, whatever it is, like instead of shying away from it, he could say, look, if we have another great year and teams are coming after me, I might be listening. I could be out of here. I don't know if he's going to, why would he say I'm not going anywhere when, everybody knows that there's that chance. I think, say, look, Sharon Moore, you guys can keep this thing going if I'm here or not. Now, and when name, image, and likeness, Michigan's doing a great job. The only thing that they're not doing is promising money up front. So that's their stance. I don't think there's any ambiguity there at all. Michigan can say, look, this is what JJ's making. This is what our guys can make. This is how much you can make after a year. This is how much you can make after 2 years. And all of these other schools are offering you, the signing bonuses up front. Those are the two negative things. I think Michigan attacks them and said, hey, this is right where we're at with it. So, there's no, to me, I see Antoine on here always saying, oh, this kid, I can understand why he's getting, some cold feet. He's coming in this weekend, address his concerns, tell him where you're at. Just lay it out there. Like, I'm all right. Like, Michigan fans, Harbaugh's not going to. It looks like Jim Harbaugh could. I don't want him to either. He's right now he's one of the top coaches in college football. Michigan's rolling. I hope he stays there for another 5-10 years, but there is a chance. I mean, he's telling everybody there's a chance. He doesn't have a signed contract, so obviously there's a chance that it could be Sharon Moore. Last year, it could have happened. It could have happened the year before. So it could happen this year. So I'm ready for it. I don't want it to happen. But I'm prepared for it to be. And I think recruits and current players and fans should all be in that same situation. It doesn't matter what the enemies are saying. We're saying it.
Yeah, you make an interesting point that, Jim hasn't shied away from saying, listen, we're a successful program and people want our players and they want our coaches. And sometimes that includes me too. And, when you have to develop trust with those parents and that kid. And there is an upside to saying, listen, man, I'm just keeping it real with you. And there are parents that will respect the honesty, and players that will respect that honesty, that look, we are a marketable program and people want us. They want everybody down here at Schembechler Hall. So that argument can actually, in some ways, with the right people, help you recruiting.
Yeah, I think he's cushioning the blow a little bit. I don't know. I don't really care about all of the assistants underneath him. He's got new coaches at every position that aren't named Harbaugh since he came in, right? Like everybody's new. So yeah, guys, there's going to be a lot of turnover. It's always about the top guy. That's the guy that, college football is sure it's about the brand. It's about the head coach. Same thing with college basketball. So it's a big upheaval. So it is a big piece in, how Michigan plays it and how Harbaugh's been playing it. I wish that he would sign this contract with this gigantic, buyout, but it doesn't appear that he's going to do that. So the writing is not only on the wall, everybody knows it. Everybody knows what he's going to do. So, but we know it heading in. I don't think he's trying to pull any fast ones. He's demonstrating by his actions, what he may do. So nobody should be surprised about it, even if nobody wants him to go. But, there's a chance that it could happen. Shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Okay, Scar, you mentioned it to start the show. Michigan with a victory last night in the NIT. What did you think of the Wolverines playing in the NIT? There were some Michigan fans who were turning up their nose and they wanted to be like North Carolina and say, yeah, I don't want to play in the NIT. What did you think of it?
No, these guys are basketball players, man. They want to continue playing, play every, extra games is great for these kids. The season didn't go like we wanted, but they got a chance to, because I was there in '84 when they won an NIT. And I know that gave them momentum. I knew guys that played. And so this is a good thing. They played hard last night. They played good. Toledo's a good team. Toledo, man, that guy's a good coach at Toledo. He offensively, they were tough. Luckily, we had some size advantages, and Doug was outstanding, and Baker was making shots, and the future looks good there. So I'm glad they're in. We got a tough one going to Vanderbilt, Denny. I have been to a basketball game at Vanderbilt. And if you saw that game last night, they played Yale. The floor is different. It's the coach stands up on the floor and the players are kind of sitting down like at Minnesota. And there's a big gap between the stands and the one side of the court. And it's just different, man. Basketball, the lighting, the bounce of the ball on the floor. I mean, obviously the rim is 10 foot and all that from Hoosiers. We know that, but the lighting and the spatialness of everything, you got to get in there, and we got to get a good practice in there. We're going to play Saturday at noon, and we got to, get a feel for that gym, because it's a different deal. And but Vanderbilt is a team. I don't see great players for Vanderbilt. Stackhouse is the coach, and but if we play a good game, we go on the road, get acclimated to that environment, and play like we're capable of playing. We can win. It'll be tough. It'll be a tough game to win on the road, because they beat Florida over there. They beat Auburn. They beat some teams at home. So, it's a tough environment.
Maybe Kentucky twice. Michigan lost to them. I know that Vanderbilt, a lot of people thought that they got snubbed and should have been in the tournament. I'd like to see Stackhouse and Juwan Howard play one-on-one. Those two guys look like they kept themselves in pretty good shape. They might be the best two player coaches that you would want to see in the NCAA. I don't know if it's still, I don't watch a lot of Vanderbilt basketball, but over the years, I remember not only did they have the floor that was up there, but the players and the coaches, instead of being on the sideline like every other team, they sat on the baseline.
That's right. That's another thing. Yeah, I remembered that. I couldn't really see it yesterday, but that's how it was at the game I was at. Yeah, you're right. They were on the baseline. And, Denny, playing in this tournament, I'm wondering if Michigan and Michigan coaches are saying, you know what, we're just going to play for the future. I honestly believe that's why he's starting Cheddar above Terrence Williams. I mean, Terrence Williams was the guy all year, and then all of a sudden now you're going to start Cheddar. And Cheddar is, you're seeing the growing pains, but is that what he's doing? And then is that what he's doing with his son not playing? Does Joey Baker have another year, Denny, or is he done?
They're petitioning for it, and Juwan, I believe, said last night that they want him to come back, and Baker said he's only coming back to Michigan if he wins his appeal. I think he played a couple games in a few minutes when he was a freshman at Duke, so you'd expect him to win that. Would you want to see him
okay,
back?
So this makes sense then. This makes sense, because I think Jet's one and done. He's gone, and I think that Juwan is just saying, listen, my kid is done. I'm playing. We are playing for the future. I'm going to get Baker back. Cheddar's going to be we're going to go through the growing pains with them. I wouldn't doubt if you see Terrence Williams in the portal, and that way he's got his whole team is. If he gets Buffkin back, he's got everybody coming back that he's starting Saturday afternoon. Baker, Cheddar, Hunter, Doug, and Buffkin, and that's, I'm thinking that's what he's doing, because a lot of coaches think like that the heck with it. We didn't win a Big Ten championship. We didn't win a tournament. We're not in the NCAA. And obviously there's some people that say, well, it's about winning, and why isn't Jet playing? But I think he's like, my kid's done and I'm playing for the future.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Jet, and he missed the game, but they they said it was because of his ankle, and yet he was seen shooting half-court shots in a video before the game, which upset some Michigan fans. It's like, you make a football comparison of players opting out. You had some Michigan players doing that in the past. The one year they had both captains, doing it, and people, you get it. They're protecting themselves for injury. You're like, this is basketball, but you wouldn't have a problem if Jet Howard was sitting the NIT out, and if he was going pro, you would have no problem with him doing that instead of playing for the team. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's what he's doing. I think he's sitting out the bowl game, man. That's what I believe. He played against Rutgers, in the tournament, and now so it's what I believe. I think he's done. I think he's going pro, and the coach is like, at the same time, I understand trying to keep you healthy. Don't want to have you get hurt, and I'm going to play for the future. So that's my gut feeling on that thing, is that the Juwan is saying, I'm playing for the future, and I don't want my kid getting injured anymore for this NIT tournament. That's what I believe. I might be wrong, but that's what I believe.
Yeah, I agree with you. If it was the NCAA tournament, I wouldn't like it. I'd want him to play. But if he's sitting out and he's thinking about, I'm going to go pro, I'm okay with that. I think that, with him shooting the half-court shots, it makes it feel like that's exactly what he's doing. But, you don't know for sure. Just because you can shoot half-court shots doesn't mean you can't play in the game. But the other part about it is, there's a lot of Michigan fans and everybody's wondering what Hunter Dickinson's going to do. Everybody's wondering what Kobe Buffkin's going to do. At least we have a better guess at what Jet Howard's going to do. But if you just said that Michigan was going to lose Jet Howard and they were going to get Kobe Buffkin back and Hunter Dickinson, I think people would be pretty excited about that.
I think Hunter's doing too well with the NIL. I think he's getting taken care of. That's my gut. Don't know for sure, just a gut feeling. I think he's going to make more in Ann Arbor than he will, playing overseas. I don't know that he's going to make an NBA roster. I don't know. If I had to bet, I would say no. But he's going to get paid. He's going to get compensated in Ann Arbor. Buffkin can play in the NBA. I think, I don't know what they're telling him. I don't see his name too high on that list. So I guess he's back. If I had to bet, I'm thinking, like I said, I'm betting. I would take this bet right now. Baker and Cheddar and Hunter and Doug and Buffkin. That's our starting lineup next year. And they're all back. I would take that bet right now.
Yeah, the thing about Baker this year, he's been a hit or miss. So when, it came down about whether, he could just be moving on, I didn't think and I still don't think that would be like some gigantic loss. However, he is a shooter. He is exactly what you want. And you watch him shoot, and it looks good when he's shooting it there. And you just have to look to a guy like that transferred to Michigan State last year, in Joey Hauser. He was kind of like Baker, he'd go a couple games and he wouldn't score at all. And then, he would hit a couple and you're kind of like, is this it? Pretty uneven. And you look at the numbers, they're pretty comparable, but Hauser this year was really good. I mean, he was a nice player for MSU, and that's going to be the hope. Like, if Baker comes back, you want this with every player, but you want him to take a step up and you want him to be more consistent with that shot from outside. If he's able to do that, then he will be a welcome addition, returning to the
Danny, confidence comes with repetition and doing it. And, he should be a better player next year. But Terrence Williams that's a decision, because I saw, Michigan is looking at some kid from Wofford, and Terrence Williams is a guy that I would wonder, what are they going to do with him?
Scott was thinking that Joey Buckets looked like Duncan Robinson and Nick Stauskas last night. Let's get him that 6th year.
Yeah, he looked great. It's getting comfortable. The defense wasn't as strong. That's the one thing about Toledo. They were tough to defend, but the difference is they were not a Big Ten defense. I don't think that going against them was not like going against Michigan State or, Indiana, some of those teams that have just bigger, physical, more athletic guys that are going to defend. So, but,
Yeah, Yeah, the flip side is he put up goose eggs against Illinois and Indiana, those road
Because
games.
those teams defend, Denny. They got better, bigger, stronger athletes, and they do a better job defending than Toledo did. But still, he had open looks. You got to make shots. He made shots. He had open looks against other teams and didn't make shots, but he made them last night. So let's hope he keeps rolling.
Scar, you're making you're making great points, So here we go. How about answering some questions before you leave? I'll throw some quick ones your way. I saw people asking you some questions specifically, so let's see if we can get to them. No, it's not this one. Let's see. It was OT. If I can. That's not the one from OT. I thought he was asking a question about football. He doesn't think Jet's done. I'm going to go back a little bit further. It's a good and bad one.
I mean, Ottawa doesn't think Jet. I mean, they got Jet. I mean, the stuff I'm seeing, they got him as a top 15, number 12 on the list. I mean, he's 6'8". He can shoot. If they take Caleb Houston, I think Jet is better than Caleb Houston, in my opinion. So, but we'll see. It could be wrong. I think he's going to be drafted. I think he's going to be a first-round kid, though, man.
Yeah, well, Buffkin's name's showing up a heck of a lot as of late in the mock drafts too. So, but that would be great to see him come away and return. That would be awesome. That would be the one I would hope for if I was a Michigan fan, and everybody here is. So we're all hoping that Kobe Buffkin comes back. Thing is that the thing with Kobe and Jet is they're like the same age. So the thing about Buffkin is that even though he's a sophomore, the NBA guys are looking at his age and they're like, whoa. And they love those 18-year-olds, because the upside, once you play, and you're 19, you have to have a certain, so he's got really good things going for him. He's young and he's playing really well and he's blossoming right now. So the potential there, I'm sure that a lot of people are telling him like, oh yeah. I mean, it's very, it's appealing, for the NBA folks, but I hope he stays around.
Yeah. He looks like a great team guy, hard worker. They love him. Coaches love him.
Scar, what bet can we make that helmet in the background for the duration of the show? You want the helmet?
That's not happening, man. Maybe one day I'll break it out, but I just just styled up my hair. I ain't ready to get it all jacked up.
Well, one day we'll see if we can get, maybe you grab a selection of these books here.
Yeah, that helmet came right from the locker room after the Fiesta Bowl.
What the funny part was is I should go through. I had a text after last week's show, and he said, "How come Scar's wardrobe looks like Johnny Falk? He's still wearing the." And I said, "Nah, that's funny." He says, "No, I noticed the shirts. They're the same ones. Wardrobe by Falk."
That's right, baby. Still Big Johnny. I still got a lot of his stuff. Like I said, I got a hard time throwing it out, man. You get your Michigan gear, you got it, man. I'm not throwing it out until it's,
no reason to.
Still got some life to it.
Great job. All right, Scar, enjoy it. I want to remind everyone that no show tomorrow or Friday. It's basketball all day. Saturday, I'll join you on this feed for the Michigan Basketball Postgame Live. We'll be back on Monday. So everybody have a great weekend. No good afternoon Michigan football tomorrow or Friday. We'll talk with you on Saturday after the NIT game and then back on Monday. Scar, great job today. Always nice talking with you.
All right, Danny, I'll have some info that I can reveal next week after going to practice. And let's get a big win Saturday afternoon at Vanderbilt. Go Blue.
You see Jadyn Davis walk up, put your fist out and be like,
give him a high five, baby. This is where you need to be. Go Blue for life.
That's right. Just tell him, man, this is the place to go. All right. Great job, Scar.